Hello everybody, Snow the Polar Bear Chick back again today with another book review. As always, this is not like a professional review, but more opinionated, so no spelling or grammatical errors or whatever. So, you know. And again, as always, spoiler warning. But today we will be reviewing No Gun's Life by Tasuku Karasuma. Probably said that wrong, but whatever. It is a manga series that lasts for 13 volumes, which I feel like it's a good length, you know? Doesn't go too long. It's not too short. Gets everything out there with, you know, no dilly-dallying in between. The summary, as given to us on the back of said manga. After the war, cyborg soldiers known as the Extended were discharged. Juzo Inui is one of them, a man whose body was transformed, his head replaced with a giant gun. With no memory of his previous life, or who replaced his head and why, Inui now scratches out a living in the dark streets of the city as a resolver. You know, get it? Because his head's a revolver, so he's a resolver. I always thought that was funny. Anyway, taking on cases involving the Extended. So, that's the summary for the book. Let's get on with my points. Again, as usual, we'll start off with the good points. Number 1. Just a generally good story. I feel like that should always be number 1 point. It's easy to follow for me, you know, for the most part. And just was very interesting in general. So yeah. Number 2 was that it had lots of interesting characters with funny quirks. Like the two that come to mind are this one lady who, whenever she gets stressed, tries to kill herself. And even asked Juzo to help one time. So, I thought that was pretty funny. Like, it's not a funny topic, but that itself, the scene was funny. Anyway. And the second one was another lady comes to the office and just starts cleaning everything while Juzo isn't there. That's the two I can think of at the moment. But they got a good laugh out of me. Number 3, which kind of goes along with that, is I had good comedy scenes. I love comedy in manga. To me, it's honestly, a manga isn't worth reading unless it's got some funny scenes in it. I know people's going to disagree with that, but that's my personal opinion on it. I need some sort of comedy in there every once in a while. Number 4 is I absolutely love Juzo's, like, blank face. Like, it shows whenever they don't want to put in detail. Like, they did the same thing for Al in Full Metal Alchemist. And I just love it. It's hilarious. It's adorable. And I love it that they did for this too. I don't know if it's because, you know, make a detailed character just easier to draw or put in some more comedy in there. But either way. Number 5 is having a gun for a head is just an interesting concept in itself. Just what if I wrote this character with a gun for a head? An actual trigger that someone can pull. I just think it's a very interesting concept. Number 6, the Extended are just like really cool. Like, I know they're discriminated against and stuff, and you know, there's a lot of the characters in it are criminals of some kind. But I like the idea of cyborgs and stuff. So, you know, the Extended they seem cool to me. And there's Extended for, like, extended parts, I should say, for, like, everything pretty much. Like, later, one of the characters gets offered an arm that can do all this, like, cooking stuff and even has, like, a flambe flamethrower thing on it. And it's just interesting that you can have all this stuff that does all this different things. Number 7 is it has a good example of discrimination in it for me. You know, there's actual discourse between people who are still flesh and blood and people who have got extensions. And you know, there's obviously some hatred and stuff in between the two. Doesn't matter the reasoning, because to me some characters did have a good reason to get extensions, but they're still discriminated against either way. Number 8, I liked Juzo's story. I liked him trying to repent for stuff he did in the past. And he does. But he also kind of learns that he doesn't really need to. That's not exactly right, but you know, his friends and stuff help him along the way, you know, as usual. Number 9 is it had great character development, which actually goes with my previous point with Juzo trying to repent and fixing all the stuff he did in the past. But it had great character development, especially him and especially Tetsuro. Which, you know, they're like the main characters. Of course, they would have the most character development. Number 10, it had some good twists that I did not see coming. Like, I can sometimes predict, you know, as everyone can, sometimes predict, you know, what'll happen in a story. But the twist in there, like Juzo's previous partner being a part of Burehurin, I'm going to say that wrong every time, forgive me, and then actually being Tetsuro's father, that threw me for a loop. This is a good twist, one I did not see coming. And that's it for my good points. Now for the bad points. Number 1, I do wish there was more history on the war that came before the story. Like the one that started the extended. It doesn't really give us anything. And I just wish there was more. Number 2, I feel like the history of, you know, the whole thing does go a little too fast. Like, no extended at all that I'm aware of. And then suddenly, extended everywhere! Everybody's a cyborg! You're a cyborg! He's a cyborg! Woo! It just seems to move a little bit too fast for me. 3, isn't technically a bad point, but whatever. Burehurin are just dicks. And I know having a villain that's, you know, complete and total bastard is like a good thing because, you know, it makes you sympathize more with the good guys going against the bad guys. So, technically this is a good point. I just don't like Burehurin. They're dicks. They're, even amongst themselves, they're backstabbing. So, anyway. 4. To me, this is a more personal problem because I'm stupid. But it gets a little confusing with the introduction of Tetsuro's siblings. Like, again, this is a personal thing. I know it's a personal thing. But he has, like, 6 other siblings. And it's so confusing to me. Just, it mentions someone as like, wait, who's this again? I know it's one of his siblings. I think. I don't know. I can't remember. It's fine. We'll move on. You'll tell us about it later, probably. And actually, that's it for our bad points. It didn't have that many I could think of, or that I noticed. And technically, one of them wasn't actually a bad point, but just don't put it there. Anyway. For our extra points, you know, neither good nor bad. Bonus points, you might say. I should shut up. I think it's funny that Juzo can never fit in a car unless it has no roof. Because, you know, his gun head, obviously. I just think it's funny because he's like trying to sit in these tiny cars. And like he always has to stick his head out the window. Either that or just like kind of duck down, but I just think it's funny. Number 2, I would have liked a character page in the beginning, especially in later volumes, whenever, again, it introduces Tetsuro's siblings. You know, it gets a bit confusing, and I love character pages, I do. Especially when they give a short description of the characters. It makes it so much better to me. But, again, that's a personal issue. And number 3, which I said this in the beginning, so I'll restate it, that, again, it's 13 volumes. It's not too long. It's not too short. It gets done when it needs to get done. tells the story it needs to tell, and then it's over. So I can appreciate that in a manga. Don't get me wrong, I do love longer mangas like Fairy Tail and Naruto and One Piece. And there are some short ones that I wish would go on longer, like, if you've ever heard of it, Brave Tuber only has 2 volumes. My god, it needs more. Anyway. But I can appreciate a manga that gets to the point, and it tells your story, and then it's done. The author doesn't drag it out forever, for whatever reason. And I believe that's my extra points. No Gun's Life was a very good manga. I do highly recommend it. I would give it 8.5 polar paws out of 10. But it's one of those that if you're into manga, I do recommend it. If you're not into manga, I still recommend it. And if you want to get into manga, it could be a good place to start. Especially if you like the whole cyborg sci-fi stuff. That's my review. The manga series is finished, but there is an anime. Only 1 season, 24 episodes long. It is subbed and dubbed. I haven't actually watched much of it myself, but from the first few episodes that I have seen, it does seem pretty faithful to the manga. So, that's always a good sign. And that's my review for No Guns, No Life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!